I think that the difference between playing and being serious is a very fine line, kind of like a gray area. I think that, come on in. I think a lot of the art that I make is very playful by default, like it's sort of inherently playful by the way that I make these characters, and I do have a lot of fun making it, but I think that there's an inevitable transition to seriousness when you are producing art and then it's being taken out of the context of being made in your home or studio. I grew up in America until I was 17 in Washington, D.C. And when I was 17, I decided to move to Romania, where my mother is from. And I guess you could say it was some sort of an impulsive decision, but also I knew that I wanted to leave and see something else, and it seemed like a good opportunity. I didn't know the language 100%. I would say I probably knew like 10%. And I think it was quite a hard transition from the beginning because I didn't really know anyone. I was very young. It was after quite a traumatic experience in my family. My father had passed, and I sort of just up and left one day, let's say, to go to university here. Yeah, I think that there's a big difference between my, let's say, childhood culture and half of my identity and my current place of living and culture that I think resonates the most with me, which is Romanian culture. But I can say I never felt quite 100% comfortable there, and I always knew that there was something a bit off, and I knew that I needed to go somewhere. But I think that at 17 you have feelings like this, that you want to do something and change something, but at least in my case it was all very impulsive, and I didn't really think it through that much. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and I think only after a few years I sort of processed it and understood exactly why I made these decisions. Welcome to my studio. Yo! That is my colleague Mihai. Tu nu poți să bei bere. I think I get my inspiration from a lot of different places. I consume a lot of media, let's say, online and films and music, and I would say that I'm very attentive in public, let's say, to people, and I like to make connections between, you could say, seemingly unrelated subjects. So I do all of my works by hand, and I use a small crochet needle. And I just weave the yarns and other materials, mostly yarn, but sometimes other materials, through this burlap sack. And it's quite a let's say, a taxing process, but I think it's really worth it. And I think it gives the works an individuality that you can't get by making things by machine. And so I slowly fill the drawing with color. I do my drawing on the burlap, and then I fill it in. It's very relaxing, and you can just kind of clear your brain out and just do this for hours. It's not really a choice, but I try and make things as accessible as possible. And for me, accessible means that you don't have to be a art expert or to understand like a very difficult rhetoric or language of how something is written or made in order to understand the message. And so sometimes my works, I think, can be a bit redundant and a bit explanatory in their messages, but I value that. So it's sort of art that hopefully everyone can enjoy and maybe bring a smile to someone's face or a laugh. But I also think that the job comes with some sort of slight guilt, which I think is maybe a current thing that's happening in the world in general, of this guilt of being productive. So it's hard for me to just sit at home and do nothing, which I think is a very valuable thing to do, and you should be able to do that. But sometimes I'm like, I want to watch TV, but I have to do something so I don't feel like a lazy, because I don't have a structured job. So I have to produce, but it's also a pleasure. So it's this weird middle ground of like, I like doing it, but I also can't be chill and just like sit chill. But that's okay because I don't have anything else to do, so it's fine. What I'm working on right now is I've been thinking for the past months about the idea of barbed wire, of like a barbed wire fence, which is, I would say, omnipresent throughout the world, but barbed wire is just such an exclusive way to keep people out, and it's used in even detention camps and prisons and on private property. And I feel like it's such an important symbol that can be taken in many contexts for you're not allowed in here. It's also for protecting animals, but in its main use, it's used to keep people out. So as a symbol, I feel like it's pretty strong because it's actually just some very flimsy and thin wire. But just as an idea, it's something that is very, I don't know, there's nothing nice about it. It's like you are not allowed here and you will never be allowed here. And if you try and get here, you'll cut your body. Oh no, I usually have a full sketch of what I want to do. I usually have everything, like all of the details. I even think about the colors, and I even will buy and source my materials. For this particular one, I've had a sketch for a few weeks that I know what I wanted to do, but I knew that there was one element missing. So for example, I was thinking of having something like here in this area, because I know the composition of it, but there needs to be one more thing. I like in a work to have 3 elements. One is like the color and to have 3 elements. One is the color and the visual side. The other is the general topic, let's say. And the third would be some sort of an element of surprise or text. My inspiration can be anything from like a Catholic ritual to some meme that I saw and I combined them, or some lingo that's used recently, or I don't know. I have a work that's about labubus, and it's like the la bubonic plague, and it's just a bunch of labubus like dying from the plague. So obviously that, and I'm aware of this, that is a work that probably will not live itself out. There have definitely been works that I made that have, from the production of the works, have resulted various bad things, from injury to like sort of public scandal. I would say that for the most part, I try and make work that's not offensive to any particular group of people. I think that if I play with the ideas of power structures and who's in power, it's never incisive enough to a specific person so that one group of people could get upset about it, because I don't have a problem with any particular group of people. It's just sort of talking about how things are structured. So I'm always quite careful to not offend anyone, because that's not what I want to do. But I've had many works about specifically about religion that maybe have ruffled some feathers, or I had an exhibition at some point at a public art festival in Romania, and because of the political situation at the time in the city, like in the local council, for some reason my art was used as leverage against the other party, and there were articles written that I do pornography and that I'm trying to stifle their efforts to get somewhere, and that I'm trying to corrupt the children with these works. And the works actually were just like, I mean, there was a bit of nudity, but it was not at all anything pornographic. I had this like 8-bit penises with wings that were flying in a field, but they were very cartoonish, and Yeah, I don't know. It didn't even cross my mind that that could offend someone. And maybe it's not for young children, but even for young children, I don't think that it was something at all pornographic was my intent, not even a little bit. I feel a great pleasure in making something very transient or very short into something very long. And I think it's a combination of really enjoying the process of making something and spending a lot of time doing things in a very meditative way. And it's very satisfying for me taking something so fast and so something that just disappears in a flash and immortalizing it and turning it to something that can stay forever or at least a while, turning it into an artwork. So sometimes, I don't know, I think it's this drive to make the trivial or the less important or the less noticed thing into something grandiose and something that is that deserves to be put on a pedestal somehow. So even these sort of like boring moments or internet memes that just go in and go out and you consume so much. Sometimes it's I don't know, it's sort of a message for me that if I stop for a second and take this thing and turn it into something large scale and physical and palpable that I've worked on for a week, it just brings me a lot of satisfaction. I think that the style of my works and their materials combined, yes, it is very comic centric and one could even say cute or even childlike in some way. I've developed this style over years, and I think that it's kind of been the way that I've been drawing when nobody was looking, which I think like from when I was a kid actually. And so when I was at university or in drawing in more serious context, I think I was using a totally different style and sort of forcing that. But I think that the style that I'm using now in my work that I feel so comfortable with is definitely this sort of very simple line drawings, big eyes, smile with teeth. I like using these same traits in many different works, and all of my characters have the same sort of like frozen, scary face with hands that don't have any arms and with hands that don't have any bones and things like this. I think that taking this like internet junk and space junk and turning it into something that can be revered for a long time, I think that the use of the phrase "an expensive funeral" for these pieces of trash, let's say, for some, I think that's a very good way of describing it, actually. And it's like, as I mentioned before, it's sort of a celebration of something that otherwise would have not been noticed or respected. Because I think that a lot of people notice things, but I think that everything that we leave in our trace, even on the internet, is still a part of us. And I think that all of these objects deserve to have some sort of celebration around them, or not a celebration, but to be seen a little bit more. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. So I like to take these little sound bites or memes and transform them into something a little bit more developed. So I'll take something and give it another layer, and it's very relatable because you've seen these things on the internet or you've seen these things in social things in pop culture, and if you put them together with other ideas and combine them, then I sort of like spit out a work that combines all of these things together.